Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to do a prediction on the 2020 presidential election between Democrat New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand and Republican incumbent President Donald Trump. So Gillibrand just showed her support for the abolition of ICE, which only 31% of registered voters support, and I don't think that would just bode well for her. And not to mention that Donald Trump is the incumbent president. He has the incumbency advantage, and things are looking um, okay for him. And his approval is also climbing up. So I don't think that Gillibrand has chance of winning here. But anyway, let's get to the map. So on the West Coast, these states will of course go to Gillibrand, and the northern states would definitely go to Gillibrand because she's a northerner and she has that northern appeal, and also that those northern states are pretty democratic in presidential election. So yeah, they would go to the Democrat. Yeah, New Hampshire, this one I see going to Gillibrand, basing off her northern appeal and also all of Maine's, except that one electoral vote because of the rural factor, and Donald Trump appeals to rural factor to rural voters in this district, and he won it by a large margin in 2016. So yeah, he would carry that one. Illinois would be safe for the Democratic Party. And now, Alaska, Utah, and I'm gonna fill those safe Republican states. Nebraska at this point, I don't think that the second district would go for a Democratic Party. And now, let's fill the map with. Okay, so, oops, sorry. Okay, so this puts Gillibrand at 489 electoral votes and Donald Trump at 181 electoral votes. So now, I think the president would be able to carry the state of Arizona, the state that voted for him in 2016 and voted for Romney and voted for McCain. And the state of Arizona is pretty Republican. It has a solid red identity. I don't think that it would go for Gillibrand. And also it's a border state, and immigration is an important issue in this state, and also that Gillibrand's call for abolition of ICE isn't that popular with U.S. voters. I don't think that Gillibrand has that chance of flipping the state of Arizona. And now in North Carolina, I think it would go to Donald Trump, basing off the fact that the state of North Carolina has a red identity, a Republican identity. And in 2008, President Obama only won that by a very small margin. And in 2012, Mitt Romney flipped it back. And 2016, Donald Trump won North Carolina. So I don't think that it would go back to the Democratic column. But now the state of Virginia, I predict would go for Gillibrand because it's leaning blue since the election of 2008, and also that Trump doesn't isn't a type of candidate who can win in Virginia because his it requires a more moderate and candidate who can appeal to educated voters in Virginia, and Trump just can't appeal to Virginia voters. So yeah, Gillibrand would capture Virginia's 13 electoral votes. And now New Mexico and Colorado would also go to Gillibrand, basing off the fact that these states are also leaning blue. Yeah, so 216 electoral votes for Gillibrand and 207 electoral votes for Trump. And now the state of Nevada, I think would go to Trump, basing off that Trump is pretty popular in the state of Nevada, and also that because of the immigration issue, yes, Gillibrand calls for the abolition of ICE. I don't think that would be a good signal for her. So now let's get to Ohio. I think Donald Trump would be able to carry Ohio's 18 electoral votes because he won the state in 2016 by a considerable margin, and the state of Ohio is turning more and more Republican. I don't see a chance of Gillibrand winning in Ohio. And now going to Iowa, I think Donald Trump would be able to carry it again, based off the facts that Gillibrand isn't the type of candidate who can appeal to Iowa voters, and Trump is. So yeah, he would win the state of Iowa. But going to Minnesota, I predict would go to Gillibrand, basing off the facts that Gillibrand, I think, is a type of candidate who can win in Minnesota, and yeah, this puts her at 236 electoral votes and puts Donald Trump at 237 electoral votes. So now going to Wisconsin, I predict Wisconsin would go to Donald Trump, basing off the facts that a lot of counties in Wisconsin are turning more and more Republican, and the state itself is turning Republican, and also Donald Trump won this in 2016, and he now in 2020 he would have some advantage here. So yeah, that doesn't bode well for Gillibrand, but I think she would win the state of Michigan, basing off that Donald Trump won Michigan in 2016 by a small margin against Hillary Clinton, and Clinton was very unpopular, and also that Clinton just wasn't prepared to lose the state of Michigan. And yeah, I think Gillibrand is a progressive Democrat, and she leans more to the left than Clinton did. Yeah, and I think that would help her capture some working class votes and those voters in Michigan. And now going to Pennsylvania, I think this one would go to Donald Trump, basing off the facts that Pennsylvania doesn't really like a progressive type like Gillibrand, and we saw in the special election that even though a Democrat won the special election, that Democrat was more moderate, and he's in fact conservative in some ways. He's pro-life, and yeah, so I don't think that a more liberal candidate like Gillibrand would be able to capture Pennsylvania, and so this puts Donald Trump at 267 electoral votes, and Gillibrand at 242 electoral votes. Donald Trump is just 3 electoral votes shy from winning the entire election, and now the race goes down to Florida, and this is the deciding point for this presidential election, and I predict that Florida would go to Donald Trump, basing off the Florida is turning more and more Republican. There are a lot of white voters moving into Florida, and also President Trump's approval among Hispanic voters, which is a growing block of demographics in Florida. The present approval among Hispanics is increasing, and also, yeah, Florida itself is turning more and more Republican, so I think Trump would be able to carry 29 electoral votes from this state, and this puts Donald Trump 296 electoral votes, well over the 270 threshold. So Donald Trump wins re-election, and he becomes the second president since FDR to win re-election with fewer electoral votes. And so this is how the final electoral map would look like, but who know what would happen before the 2020 presidential election. It's 2 years from now, so this may not be accurate. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and you can like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you all later.